My daily routine always starts the same way. At 6 in the morning, I wake to the sound of my alarm echoing through the quiet residential streets of Brooklyn Heights. When I open the curtains, I can see Manhattan's skyscrapers wrapped in the morning haze. The view from my room on the third floor of this brownstone never fails to soothe my soul. My eyes catch the silver frame on my vanity. It's last year's Christmas family photo. My sister April is in the center, with our parents beaming beside her. And there I am at the edge, Caroline Wilson, with my usual reserved smile. Let's do our best today, too. This habit of speaking to myself in the mirror is one I've maintained for years now. After a shower, I slip into my navy pantsuit and carefully style my brown hair. As a senior manager at a major accounting firm, my appearance must be impeccable. By the living room window, my cherished herb plants stand in a row. The fragrance of thyme and rosemary brings me small moments of joy. On weekends, I often spend time here reading while listening to Bach. Early as usual, dear. As I step out, Mrs. Johnson from across the street is tending to her garden. In her 70s, she's become like a grandmother to me. Good morning. Your garden looks lovely today. Oh, did you see April's news? She's doing so well on Wall Street. Your parents must be so proud. I pause for a moment at those words. My sister has become a celebrated investment analyst, achieving remarkable success. Her income is more than triple mine. She lives in a luxury Manhattan apartment, draped in designer brands, and is constantly in the social media spotlight. Yes, indeed. I respond with a smile, though I feel a slight tightening in my chest. Since childhood, our parents' affection has always been focused on April. Even when I got good grades, April's minor achievements were celebrated more enthusiastically. My graduate school acceptance received less attention than my sister's high school report card. As I board the subway, I'm reminded of yesterday's family dinner. These Sunday family dinners continue as a tradition at our mother's insistence. April, darling, tell us about that wonderful news again. Mother was eagerly addressing my sister while serving the roast beef. Oh, it's nothing special. Just an award nomination. April maintained a modest front, though her eyes sparkled with pride. Caroline, why don't you follow April's example and be more proactive? At Father's words, I could only nod silently. My department promotion and successful new projects weren't even worthy of mention here. At the office, I'm enveloped by the usual busy atmosphere. Corporate audits, tax return reviews, staff supervision. Steady, reliable, honest, that's my motto. Ms. Wilson, could you check these calculations? Jessica, a new hire, approaches my desk hesitantly. She calls me a strict but fair supervisor. Of course, dear. Have a seat. While reviewing the numbers, I glance out the window. My sister's office is somewhere among those Manhattan skyscrapers. A fleeting look of uncertainty crosses my face, but I quickly dismiss it. This is my daily life. Peaceful, stable, yet somehow feeling incomplete. However, this routine was about to be dramatically shaken, in a way none of us could have predicted. At 8 o'clock on the evening of February 15th, I was hurrying toward the subway station from my office on Atlantic Avenue. Looking up from under my umbrella, I saw the Brooklyn Bridge creating an ethereal scene, illuminated by streetlights through the rain. The final check of tomorrow's audit report. While organizing tomorrow's schedule in my head, I approached the crosswalk as usual. The light was green. I tilted my umbrella slightly to check the subway entrance on the other side. Suddenly, headlights came rushing from the left at an alarming speed. The sound of an engine revving. Tires sliding on the wet pavement. There wasn't even time to scream. A violent impact. My body was lifted into the air, then thrown into darkness. Just before losing consciousness, strangely enough, I thought I heard my mother's voice. "Caroline, why can't you be more like April?" White ceiling. The smell of antiseptic. Regular machine beeps. "Ms. Wilson? Can you hear me?" My eyelids felt heavy. As my vision slowly came into focus, I saw a doctor in a white coat looking down at me with concern. "You've been in an accident and you're now at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. It's been about 2 hours since you were brought in unconscious." A nurse was adjusting sensors on my body, recording vital signs on the monitor. The whole scene felt like it was happening in a distant world. When I tried to move, sharp pain shot through my body. My right leg was immobilized in a heavy cast, and the pain in my chest and abdomen made even breathing difficult. My face was bandaged where I apparently had lacerations. "The X-rays and blood tests are back," the doctor continued. "Surgery on the fracture is essential tonight. We may need to address internal bleeding during the operation as well. We're planning for about 3 hours of surgery. Don't move. You have full body contusions, a broken right leg, and several lacerations. Surgery is necessary tonight." My family. "Yes, we've contacted your emergency contacts." I felt a slight relief at those words. Surely my parents would come. At a time like this. Just after the nurse left after checking my phone rang. It was Mother. "Caroline?" "Mom. I've been in an accident." "Yes, the hospital called. But, listen." Mother's voice became hesitant. "Today is April's awards ceremony. She's receiving the Analyst of the Year award. It's a very important ceremony." So? For a moment, I couldn't comprehend what she meant. "We can't come to the hospital today because we have to attend the ceremony." "But I need surgery." As my voice trembled, Father took the phone. "Caroline, this is crucial for April's career. There are nurses there, aren't there?" Suddenly, I felt all strength leaving my body. "I understand." I managed to reply, fighting back tears. After the call ended, silence returned to the hospital room. Only the rhythmic sound of the drip remained. I turned on the TV with the remote the nurse had brought. As if fate was mocking me, there was my sister's awards ceremony being broadcast. The glamorous Cipriani Wall Street. April standing on stage in a dazzling dress under sparkling chandeliers. Our parents in the front row, their faces beaming with pride. They all look so happy, while I'm here, alone. I couldn't even wipe away the tears streaming down my cheeks. The arm with the 4 wouldn't move as I wanted it to. Outside the window, a light rain continued to fall. Manhattan's lights twinkled in the distance like phantoms. Alone in the dim hospital room, illuminated by the cold blue light of the TV, I kept watching my family's smiling faces. Time until surgery. My watch mercilessly ticked away the seconds. Something deeper than physical pain was constricting my heart. Nurse Maria quietly entered the room. Seeing my state, she immediately turned down the TV's volume. "Will your family be here soon?" she asked gently. When I shook my head, Maria nodded in understanding. "I'll start the pre-medication now. When you feel sleepy, just rest." As she added the medication to my 4, I stared at the ceiling. For the first time, I was looking objectively at my life lived dedicated to work. My relationship with my parents and sister. The emotions I'd always suppressed. And the true meaning of family. "Caroline, we're ready for your pre-op preparations." As my bed started moving toward the operating room, the fluorescent lights in the hallway passed overhead like scenes from a movie. In that light, I made a decision. To make this surgery, this night, the beginning of a new life. When I awoke from anesthesia, the window showed the dim light of dawn. The night nurse told me the surgery had been successful. Though the pain was still there, I stared at the ceiling through a numbed heaviness with hazy consciousness. The persistent ringing of my cell phone broke the silence. 7:15 in the morning. The screen showed "Mom." Remembering last night, I hesitated for a moment but picked up. "Hello? Caroline. Where are you? Still at the hospital?" Mother's voice rang out at an unusually high pitch. I could hear Father's agitated voice in the background. "Yes, the surgery's over. We need to see you right now. April. April." Mother's voice broke off, and I could hear her sobbing. Father took the phone. "We're coming there now. There's something important we need to discuss." "But visiting hours. That doesn't matter." I instinctively held the phone away from my ear at Father's shout. I'd never seen him so distraught. Before I could make sense of the situation, shocking news began playing on the hospital room TV. Breaking news: major investment firm uncovers massive fraud. Wall Street rising star April Wilson arrested. The screen showed my sister, who had been so radiant last night, now being led away by police. Still in her designer suit, she covered her face with both hands. The suspect is alleged to have misappropriated approximately $20 million in client funds for personal use. Evidence suggests the funds were spent on luxury cars, overseas travel, jewelry collections, and other lavish personal expenses. My mind went blank. Last night's awards ceremony. That smile. That radiance. Had it all been a lie? The hospital room door burst open. Despite it being before visiting hours, my parents rushed in. Mother hadn't even removed her makeup, and her eyes were swollen from crying. Father had lost his usual dignified demeanor, his shoulders slumped. "Caroline, please. Help April." Mother approached my bed and grabbed my hand with trembling fingers. "The bail is set at $3 million. We're putting up our assets as collateral, but it's not enough." Father continued, "We need to use your savings." My savings? The $1.8 million I had accumulated by working diligently as a senior manager and living modestly. Money I had saved bit by bit for future security. "We can't let April go to prison." Mother cried out hysterically. "She's still young. To ruin her life like this. If you give us all your savings, we can manage the rest somehow." Father's voice had returned to its usual commanding tone. I looked up at the ceiling. The sound of the Ford drip seemed unusually clear. "Why didn't you come to be with me during my surgery last night?" I asked quietly. "We told you, April's awards ceremony." Which turned out to be a fraud too. Mother was at a loss for words. All this time, April's success was all that mattered. "When I got my degree, when I was promoted, you showed almost no interest. And last night, you chose an awards ceremony over your daughter facing surgery. This is not the time for such talk." Father raised his voice. "Are you going to abandon your sister?" At that moment, Nurse Maria entered the room. "I'm sorry, but she needs to rest." My parents were reluctantly urged to leave. Before going, Mother turned back. "Think about it. April's life is at stake." In the hospital room that had returned to silence, I let out a deep sigh. Outside the window, New York City was beginning its usual bustle. While taking my blood pressure, Maria softly said to me, "Your body and mind's recovery is what's most important right now." I nodded slightly at her words. The thoughts I had long harbored about my family relationships were demanding a major decision. But perhaps now was the time to focus on my own recovery. The TV continued to broadcast news about my sister's arrest. The truth hidden behind the facade of the brilliant investment analyst was gradually coming to light. And in my heart too, something was definitely beginning to change. 2 weeks later, I was riding the elevator to my parents' Manhattan apartment on the Upper East Side, leaning on my cane. Though the pain in my leg had eased, I was still far from full recovery. James Murphy, the lawyer, stood quietly beside me. He was my company's legal counsel and a trusted advisor. I had decided that legal expertise was necessary for today's discussion. "Are you ready?" Murphy asked in a gentle voice. I nodded slightly. Mother opened the door. She who usually maintained perfect makeup and hair didn't even try to hide her exhausted expression. "Caroline." Her voice mixed faint hope with anxiety. Father was waiting in the living room. Through the large windows, Central Park's greenery was visible. The view from this luxury apartment, once the family's pride, now felt somehow empty. "So you brought a lawyer?" Father said irritably. "Yes. This is also a legal matter." I answered calmly. I placed my cane beside the sofa and slowly sat down. Here's the report from April's defense team. Father picked up the documents on the table. The total amount of misappropriated funds may be more than initially reported. It could reach $25 million. Mother let out a small cry. But if we can just make bail. I looked straight into Mother's eyes. Paying bail won't make April's crimes disappear. She needs a chance to rehabilitate. Surely you understand. Mother cried out emotionally. Do you understand how I felt waiting alone for surgery in my hospital bed? My voice trembled slightly. Heavy silence dominated the room. Caroline, let's put the past behind us. Father said in a conciliatory tone. This is a time for family to unite. Family? A bitter smile involuntarily crossed my face. Did you ever once make me feel like family? I tried to stand up and pain shot through my leg. But this time, I could bear it. You rejoiced in April's flashy success while ignoring my steady efforts. You were intoxicated by your daughter's false glory and chose an awards ceremony over your daughter's surgery. And now you dare speak of a family? You've become such a cold person. Mother's eyes welled with tears. Are you going to abandon your sister? I responded in a quiet but firm voice. Abandon? I'm the one who's been abandoned all along. Murphy took out some documents. Ms. Wilson, let me explain the bail situation from a legal perspective. Father leaned forward. What are you getting at? At this point, April Wilson's alleged crimes go beyond simple misappropriation of funds. Murphy began explaining calmly. There are also suspicions of organized investment fraud, document forgery, and tax evasion. Even if bail is paid, there's an extremely high likelihood of additional charges. I added. Furthermore, paying bail would invite scrutiny into the source of my savings. Bank and tax authority investigations would be unavoidable. What are you saying? Father's voice grew harsh. I won't be complicit in April's crimes. In fact, I took a deep breath and continued. I've decided to provide information about the past irregularities to the prosecution. Father stood up. You're going to expose our family's shame. This time I raised my voice. Being intoxicated by false glory, discriminating against your daughter, trying to be complicit in crime, isn't that the real shame? Mother broke down crying. Father approached me, seemingly enraged. Have you forgotten the debt you owe us for raising you? I stood up quietly. Without relying on my cane, on my own feet. Demanding returns for parental love, that's truly twisted thinking. Get out! Father shouted. You're no longer my daughter. Yes, that's right, I said. Perhaps we were never truly family, even long before this. Murphy carried my bag and accompanied me to the elevator. You held up well, he said compassionately in the elevator. Yes. But I'm all right now. I smiled. I feel like I've finally reclaimed my true self. As we left the building, the spring air enveloped us. The trees in Central Park were beginning to show new buds. While getting into the taxi, I looked up at the sky. I felt deep in my heart that this wasn't an ending, but a new beginning. That evening, I received a call from the district attorney's office. New evidence of April's fraud had been discovered, and additional charges would be filed. There were persistent calls from Mother, but I felt no need to answer them anymore. When I returned to my home in Brooklyn, Mrs. Johnson was planting flowers in her garden. "Welcome home, dear," she smiled kindly. "I'm planting new flowers. They'll bloom beautifully come spring." I smiled back. A new season is about to begin, isn't it? September 2024. The streets of Brooklyn Heights were gleaming in the early autumn sunlight. A sophisticated sign reading "Wilson and Associates Accounting" had been installed on an office building near Brooklyn Promenade. As I opened the door to my accounting firm, I reflected on the changes of the past 6 months. From the office windows, Manhattan's skyline stretched out before me. The cluster of high-rises where my sister's office once was now held a different meaning in the landscape. "Good morning, Ms. Wilson." Sarah at reception greeted me cheerfully. She was one of the colleagues who had followed me when I started my own firm. "Did you see the morning news?" Sarah asked quietly. Yes, I nodded slightly. The morning news had prominently featured April's sentencing. 15 years in prison. With the additional evidence that had come to light, the total amount of misappropriated funds had exceeded $30 million. Father's real estate company was also facing a management crisis. The story was that major clients were terminating contracts one after another due to the loss of credibility from April's case. I still occasionally receive emotional messages from my parents. But I no longer reply. "Ms. Wilson, here are the materials for the 10 o'clock meeting." Jessica, the new hire, brought in some documents. She was another one who had supported my decision to go independent. "Thank you. By the way, how's the pro bono project coming along?" The accounting system improvement for the Single Mothers Support Center is proceeding on schedule. After becoming independent, I decided to dedicate part of our profits to social contribution activities. It came from reconsidering what true success really means. Caroline. I turned to find Mrs. Johnson standing there with a bouquet. "This is to celebrate 6 months since your opening. I grew these flowers in my garden." "Oh, thank you so much." Roses and gerberas sparkled in various colors. Last Sunday's dinner was so enjoyable too. Instead of the old family Sunday dinners, home parties with neighbors had become my new tradition. Now I know the warmth of genuine human connections not bound by blood ties. "Oh yes, I got the concert tickets," Mrs. Johnson said excitedly. "Carnegie Hall next month." Bach, right? The luxury of enjoying classical music on weekends had returned to my life as well. In the afternoon, I received a call from Murphy. "April is requesting to see you." "I'll have to decline," I answered without hesitation. I'm not going back to the past. Outside the window, boats crossed the East River, moving across the sparkling water. Even the bridge where I had the accident now looked different to me. On my desk sat a new family photo. It was taken at the recent office opening party. Staff members, Mrs. Johnson, and new friends. Everyone's smiles were genuinely warm. "Caroline, could you do a final check on this proposal?" Michael, a senior staff member, came into my office carrying a thick file. "Of course," I nodded with a smile. Now I truly understand the joy of work and the importance of human bonds. In the evening, as I finished tidying up the office, I gazed out the window. Manhattan's lights were beginning to come on one by one. Yes, life sometimes takes unexpected turns. But if you don't lose sight of what truly matters, a new path will always open up. That's what I learned firsthand. I reach for my gardening gloves. Tonight, I think I'll tend to the plants on my balcony. After all, tomorrow will bring another new day.